start with with your story because now you're running for Congress, but I want to know is this your first time, second time running?
I ran in 2024 against Raul Grijalva,
Hmm.
and then he passed away shortly after, which we knew he was going to.
Hmm.
And then they had a special election. I had already filed all my paperwork for this election, 2026,
Yeah.
because let's face it, there's no way a Republican's going to walk in and win a blue district in one shot. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I spent all that time getting my name out. Now I have massive name recognition. And I ran in the primary or the special election, and my opponent won. Of course, she was using her daddy's name.
Hmm.
And so she got in there. And I actually think that's kind of a blessing because she hasn't done anything now. I mean, she done absolutely nothing. The only
Hmm.
thing she has done is harassed ICE, um, fought for the migrants, but she's done nothing for the American citizens. And
Hmm.
a lot of people are starting to really get upset about that because back in 2010,
Hmm.
her dad, Raul Grijalva, did the same thing. He did the exact same thing, and he almost lost that election.
Hmm.
A woman named Ruth McClung almost won it. This time, it's a little different because I am a Hispanic male. So
Hmm.
those that choose not to vote for Adelita are going to seriously consider voting for me. So there is a good chance that Adelita could just wind up throwing this race in my lap.
Hmm.
So we're going to see how it plays out.
Yeah, we'll see. But I mean that happens a lot, especially when it comes to theatrics. We have, politicians in there, and it seems like everything they do is for the appearance of looking like they're doing something. You said um, she's just going out and harassing eyes, and it's a big issue that theater plays a big part in politics because it's not necessarily like everything's really changing. Even if she were to be against eyes, it would be a good thing if she was actually proposing policies that mitigates the need for eyes. But it seems like a lot of it is just theatrics. It's just appearing like being a fighter, or and I'm sure that you've seen that a lot.
Oh yeah, well, it's divisive. They
Hmm.
when you're in a blue district where it's 172,000 Democrats to 92,000 Republicans, the simple thing for her to do is to make the Democrats just hate the Republicans, and she wins.
Hmm.
That's not working out for her too well now because I have a lot of Democrat support behind me. And I've actually been confronted about my support pretty nice. And, this is a very deeply Hispanic community. And
Hmm.
they can't believe that I support ICE. And I just tell them, I said, let me tell you something. You're all protesting the wrong people. And they said, what do you mean? Well, I explained it. ICE is nothing but law enforcement.
Hmm.
They are doing the job that Congress has set forth for them to accomplish. If you want to protest the right person, you need to go protest my opponent, who should be in Washington drafting up, as you said, policy to change it. Not out here standing here and showboating, trying to look like
Hmm.
she's doing something. Go to Washington and actually do something because her job is to write the law,
Yeah.
not break the law. And what she's doing is breaking the law.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people could see through certain actions because it happens across the country with like so many politicians that they're out there giving the appearance that they're for a cause, but they're really not pushing any proposals to really make the situation any better. So that's just an example. Um, and we all see it, but I think it's changing now that we have greater access to information, and people are not so people don't really align to certain parties anymore as they used to in the past. Now you could have Democrats voting for Republicans and vice versa. You have Republicans voting for Democrats. So I think that's actually a good thing, because less people that are so loyal to a party um, are kind of blinded by what their own party is doing. Then now it doesn't really matter what party you're registered under. That if you see a candidate from the other party doing actual good things, you're more likely to vote for the candidate from the other party as well.
Well, in today we have this AI,
Hmm.
and you can fact check anything anybody out there said instantly. I
Hmm.
mean, just instantly. As a matter of fact, Thomas Massey
Hmm.
put out a statement, said he was the one Republican that ruled against the other Republicans on the Spanish deal over there in Spain. And
Hmm.
he's blaming the Republicans for all this happening over there.
Hmm.
Well, I fact checked his statement. Took me all of a second to do, and it was all completely false.
Hmm.
And that's a Republican. Okay, I'm talking about a Republican. He's lying to his constituents. He's lying to his party members, and he's lying to all of us.
Hmm.
And that's a shame. But these politicians need to wake up. Anything they say, we can fact check instantly and know
Hmm.
how much of it's true and how much of it's not.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. But as I mentioned, so I did want to go over your life story, and before you even entered politics, before you are in the position that you are now, um, before that, so you did spend some time in prison, correct?
yeah, I back in 1991, I got wrapped up helping a friend out. We got a joint. Some corrupt police officers wanted that they were going after somebody else. I somehow got in the middle of this with a guy named Matthew.
Mm.
And nothing ever happened, but they came at me over the joint. They wanted me to testify against my cousin was the one they were after. And I told them no, and I didn't say it very politely. Next thing I know, I'm in a full-blown jury trial over one joint. They're trying to convict me for offering to sell over 8 pounds of marijuana, which never happened.
Oh.
However, the jury wound up convicting me of it. And then at sentencing, I walked in and said, Your Honor, under the law, the state had to have 8 pounds of marijuana to even charge me with this crime. And the judge said, You're absolutely right. So I wound up getting found not guilty.
Mhm.
And the state was upset about that. And they wound up putting me on probation so the state could appeal it, the judge's decision, do what he did. The bill never went. I wound up getting violated from probation for a technical violation. And the judge that I went before was the same judge. And he wound up sending me to prison for 10 years. Now, granted, mind you here, I have been found not guilty based on insufficiency of evidence, which invoked double jeopardy.
Mhm.
There was nothing, I mean, they should have let go. And the crime for which they had put me on probation with, no one had ever even charged me with, and I hadn't been convicted or anything of it. So I wound up in prison. I petitioned the courts, and after I found out that there was no conviction, I petitioned the courts, and the courts denied me, denied me, and denied me. And it took 30 years. I served 9.5 years in prison. It took 30 years before the state of Arizona finally admitted that I was right.
Wow.
So I did all my time, but during that time, I had gotten out after about 4.5 years. Everything I knew was gone. I was dealing with all the stuff that a convicted felon would deal with. Nothing that, you know, nothing was any different. Everyone believed I was guilty of a felony. And I started running with the guys I met in prison. They
Mhm.
introduced me to a drug called crystal meth and then crack cocaine. I wound up hooked on those drugs, became homeless, and then I got violated, put back to prison. I spent about 2 years homeless in the streets, but I went back to prison. And at that time, I gave my life over to Jesus
Mhm.
Christ. And when I came out, I went to work for a company called Express Painting. Worked there for 10 years. Then I left that company to go build my own company. And I built a company called Butierez Painting. I built that up. Then I bought Express Painting. And then the state wound up admitting that I was, that I had never been convicted of a crime and that I didn't commit the crime that I was accused of. So I'm driving around Tucson. I'm looking at how bad Tucson's gotten and all the homeless
Mhm.
and ask myself, God, why did you put me down that road? Why did I have to walk that road? And then it just hit me like a ton of bricks. It was for this moment right here and now because I could help those people. So I decided to run for United States Congress.
Mhm. So it seems like everything was really meant to be that you were like in this trajectory from getting incarcerated to running for Congress. Everything really aligned.
Yep.
Yeah, and so you spent 9.5 years in prison. You said
Yep.
so. I wonder, like, what does that do to you? Because you go in there for like almost a decade. How did it change your mindset or th- the way that you really
Well, I
saw the
went,
world?
well, it was, uh, and that's a good point because I see the world different than a lot of people see the world. I can tell you, I'll give you a perfect example. The first time I got out, my dad and I, we went to a restaurant. I was with the family and we were in a restaurant. And I can remember lighting up a cigarette as we were standing in line. I lit up a cigarette. My dad goes, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I said, What? He goes, "You can't smoke." I said, "Are you serious?" He said, "Yeah, you can't smoke in there." Because they had passed a law while I was in prison that you couldn't smoke in public
Wow.
places. And, I didn't know that. I said, "Well, Dad, what the hell? I thought we won World War II." Anyways, but so many things out here I could see differently because
Mm-hmm.
I had been in a certain place where I didn't see anything changing. I watched the Catholic Church change, even though my mom said, "Oh no, it's still the same." No, it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
I saw all these changes that society had gone through, and it impacted me in a way I could see that I walked out of a prison into a bigger prison because they're taking more and more of our rights from us
Mm-hmm.
in the same way they took them from men in prison. And I watched them take little by little, that the men just left it alone because they didn't want conflict. So they slowly lost all their rights in prison. Well, out here, so I think they're doing the exact same thing to us. You're slowly taking your rights one by one, and we keep giving them away for safety, for
Mm-hmm.
pleasure, for whatever it is that appeases us. We let them take them. The Second Amendment's a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they have a mass shooting, and everybody starts talking gun control.
Yeah.
Okay, that mass shooting didn't. A gun didn't go out and do the mass shooting. The man went out and did the mass shooting, and we need
Mm-hmm.
to address what the hell was wrong with him. That's
Mm-hmm.
where the problem is. But they want to go straight to the gun. And because people feel unsafe and they're scared and they're nervous, they're willing to give up that right. And that's a pretty important right.
Mm-hmm.
Talked to some children over on the reservation. They had asked about the Second Amendment and what my thoughts were about gun control and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I told the kids, I said, let me tell you something. Your ancestors weren't allowed to possess a firearm. They said, well, you know what? I hadn't even thought about that. Well, let me tell you something else. Had your ancestors had the Second Amendment right, they would have lost their land.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have a Second Amendment. So those kids walked away thinking a little different that day.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and I guess that's a really sensitive topic because no one likes mass shootings. Also, no one likes having their rights infringed upon. So, what is the middle ground between the two? Because it just seems that mass shootings keep happening, but it really goes down to mental health. And when we look at mental health, that is a huge issue that is not even being addressed, and it goes back to the huge homeless problem that we have.
Yep. Um, well, Tucson, we just had a mass shooting in Tucson.
Hmm.
9 people were shot. The guy that shot was shot by the police. So 10 altogether were shot in downtown Tucson. So it was a huge conversation here. And of course, right off the bat, the mayor and leaders are saying we need to sit down and talk about gun control. They have these lenient gun control. Except the problem is that there's all kinds of laws that would have stopped that from happening. But the mayor and our county attorney and the sheriff didn't enforce the law. And the judge that let this guy go. You see, this wasn't the first time he had done a shooting, shot at someone in
Hmm.
Tucson. Okay, he'd done this before, and what they did the last time he did this was give him probation and let him
Right.
go. Someone who went out, shot a gun, tried to shoot someone, they gave him probation and let him go. It's not the gun laws that they have on the book that are causing these mass shootings.
Hmm.
It's the people that aren't enforcing those gun laws that are already on the books. And there's where the problem is. There's no enforcement. We're
Hmm.
ignoring laws. It goes back to ICE. They want to attack ICE because ICE is trying to enforce the laws.
Right.
That they're ignoring, everyone's ignoring the laws, and then they want to blame the gun. There's the problem. At least
Hmm.
that was the problem in Tucson. It was all on the mayor and the conover that want uh, they don't want to enforce the laws. Bottom line.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I live in Vegas. We have like it seems that shootings here just happen all the time, and most shootings here are like more domestic issues, but they do happen a lot. So, what could really be done about that? You know, the Second Amendment is really important. We can't infringe upon the rights of legal or lawful gun owners, but among gun owners, there are a lot of unlawful gun owners that own weapons that they shouldn't own. Is there anything that could be done about that?
Well, I see guys that get caught that aren't prohibited possessors. By the way, that guy that just shot the people up
Mhm.
in Tucson was a prohibited possessor. That when they get stopped and they get ticketed for the prohibited possession, they don't do anything to them.
Mhm.
So what difference does it matter if I go get a gun? They're not going to enforce the law anyways.
Mhm.
That's what I'm talking about. None of the laws are being enforced. Let me tell you,
Mhm.
if you start taking some of these guys that aren't supposed to gun and you start putting them in prison for the 5 years that they say that they can go to prison for prohibited possessor, you're going to have a lot less people walking around with holding guns that they shouldn't have.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, the bottom line is none of the laws are enforced. There's no respect. People aren't teaching anyone respect.
Mhm.
There's some issues. There's a lot of issues involved with that gun violence.
Mhm.
Besides just the gun, their parents aren't raising their kids right. Go to the school. Go to the school sometime. Go to one of these elementary or junior high schools one time, and tell me if that school has got if the kids in that school have the respect that they did when you were in school.
Mhm.
It's getting worse and worse. And if you don't respect people, then we wind up in this situation. And we're getting to a point where people don't even they have no emotions or feelings for
Mhm.
people.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it seems that people are. I think social media is also responsible for that because people have less of a connection now that they don't see the need to care about others. Everyone's online, and you lose that human connection. And I think it also uh, influences the violence that we have now.
No, I agree with that 100%. See it
Mhm.
all the time. As a matter of fact, that's something a lot of the people are talking about because I'm always out in the community. I'm always out in the community. I
Mhm.
don't know if you follow any of my Facebook, what I'm doing, but I'm always out in the community with people. And that's something I hear from a lot of people and a lot of Democrats.
Mhm.
An older gentleman told me the other day, he goes, he's never in his life voted for Republican,
Mhm.
but he's serious considering voting for me because Adelita is nowhere. And he's
Mhm.
looking around and pointing nowhere. She's nowhere. And Butierez is everywhere because I'm out in the community. I'm out shaking hands. I'm out talking to people. I'm out listening to people. I'm everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, and so one of the things about you is that you're also running in a heavily Democrat district.
Mhm.
And I recently watched an interview that you had with Arizona's PBS network. And it also seems like that the Democrat bias um runs through the network because uh, all of these
Oh,
questions
yeah.
that you're being asked, they're out to like really make you look bad. It was everything that you were like really against, and I think it was that same interview. The guy just flat out asked you like, "Why are you doing this?" As to say like you're just wasting your time.
Yep. Oh, yeah. No, Ted is very biased. I
Mhm.
he like I don't know if you saw Rivas and I. He was the guy that tried to run against me. He lost
Mhm.
in the primary, but we got up there, and I didn't. I was really upset. I wasn't happy that he got in this race because I he could. It's too blue for someone like Rivas
Mhm.
to win, and Rivas wanted to be this. Um, Far right extremist radical that's just going to step in and take over
Mhm.
CD7. And I was like, dude, you don't. But Ted asked a question of him and asked if he was okay
Mhm.
with officers going into schools and arresting people.
Mhm.
And Rivas said, "Oh yeah, they're here illegally. They need to be arrested. They need to be deported." And I'm sitting there going, it was a setup question. It was absolutely a setup
Yeah.
question. And so Ted was like just shocked. And he looked at me and said, "How about you, Mr. Botietis? Do you feel like Mr. Rivas?" So I reframed the question to him. I said, "Are you asking me if I'm okay with armed men going into schools and arresting children?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "No, I'm not all right with that."
Mhm.
But that's and that's where Revis just rushed in and went there. But that's what Ted wanted him to do, and that's what Ted wanted me to do.
Mhm.
Wanted us to look like we were these radical, crazy people
Mhm.
that are all right with going into schools and getting and arresting children, and it was just so you're right. They are far left. They can't ask they have to ask a biased question in a way that we answer it in a radical form.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what they really try to make you out to look like. They're trying to make you out look like you're radical. Uh and when it comes to that, whether you're far left or far right, I think it's bad either way because once you start leaning too much towards one side of the aisle, you stop losing focus or you start losing focus of what like common sense issues, so you become biased yourself on
yeah,
issues. But then also that I think that's what's happening with networks. They're too far left, or whether they're too far right. They stop losing focus, or I mean, I'm sorry, they start losing focus of being common sense, and then they start asking you a bunch of questions, feeling like they're correct and making you look like you're bad. So they're framing these questions in a way to make you look bad.
Yep. Yep. So, I've been learning through all this. I gotta reframe the question before I answer the question,
Hmm.
and let them know that that's a gotcha question, and it's not a fair question. So this time I will be doing a lot of that. I will be in the debates. I will be re-asking the question and
Hmm.
reframing the question so that it's not a biased put to me in a biased way. You know,
Yeah.
like for example, if you want to be fair and unbiased, they should ask us if we're in favor of defunding the police, getting rid of the Senate, getting rid of the presidency, getting rid of all the prisons.
Hmm.
You know, that would be a good question to ask us. You won't ask it, but I sure would like the question asked because my opponent is for all that. You know,
Hmm.
those are
Yeah.
things that she wants done.
Hmm. Yeah. And also, homelessness is another huge issue for you because you experienced it, and you have
Yeah,
like certain proposals in place uh, to end homelessness, or actually at least mitigate the issue.
to bring it down to where it's under control.
Hmm.
We're always going to have homeless. There are people out there that's where they want to be. I've met lots of people that actually just travel. They get their social security income checks, you know,
Hmm.
basically welfare. They get a check every month. My sister, before she died, she was getting one every month.
Yeah.
But they get their checks, and these people, they just travel all over the country, homeless. But,
Hmm.
they've got money and they don't have any bills to pay. So it's the life they want. So you always have people like that. But here in Tucson, the majority of the people that are out there in the streets that are homeless are hooked on fentanyl.
Hmm.
And we need to get rid of the fentanyl on it because it's killing them and help these people get their lives back to where they're ready to go so that they can go back to work, so they can get their lives back. Like my son was homeless out there hooked on fentanyl. And
Hmm.
today he runs both my companies. I mean,
Hmm.
he's running the company right now while I'm sitting here in Yuma.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's pretty
so it
amazing.
can be done.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Coming from being incarcerated to being homeless, and then running your company. So it could be done. And it also seems that a lot of people that may be experiencing homelessness don't have that I guess like that idea that it could be better because they're stuck in an environment that like nothing's ever really going to change for them. Do you think that could be also true, that they don't really have any motivation to do anything else because they're living in a reality that nothing ever good happens?
Absolutely. They're stuck. They've lost hope. They're in a hopeless situation. They don't believe that they can change. They don't believe they can overcome the spot they are to ever be where normal people are today. And that's where the problem lies. That's the underlying issue right there. It's their self-esteem is shot. They need an opportunity to get clean off the drugs, which society's gonna have to intervene and get these people clean off of drugs. Period. I mean, that's what's gonna have to happen. We got to get them off the drugs so that they can think and make a rational decision.
Hmm.
Right now, they can't make a rational decision.
Yeah.
Um, but once they've made the decision, we need to put them in a place in a situation where they have some stability under them, give them an opportunity to go to work and earn a paycheck. That's how they get their self esteem back. They've got to be able to earn a
Hmm.
paycheck. And after that, these people will begin to thrive and grow.
Yeah, and what was the turning point for you that you went from like being homeless? You said that you got a job, right? You had that transition.
But my turning point was when I got put back in prison. And once I got my head right and clear and I got off, away from all the stuff that I'd been on,
Mm.
I wound up having some deep thoughts of things that I had been through, and I looking back over everything, and I came to realize that God was real, and I gave my life over to Jesus Christ, and
Mhm.
I wound up going to a prison yard where I got to go to work every day. So I started getting my self-esteem back, my drive back, and when I walked out of prison, I had $5,200 I had saved up. Walked out of prison. I went to work at a company called Express Painting, and I was working 12, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week,
Mm.
saving up my money, and I wound up buying two houses. So I just once I got past that hump, I started growing. I
Mhm.
started thriving, and I know all kinds of people that are now business owners that went through the same thing I went through.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, because homelessness is not the end. Um, and I mean, I live in Vegas where we have a huge homeless problem as well. And I've spoken to a few people that work in like shelters or in the homelessness agencies, you could say, and they say that a lot of people don't want to get anything better. They don't want to be housed. They like being in the position that they are. But I think that's goes back to losing hope that anything could really change for you.
yep. No, it absolutely is the loss of hope, and it's also, like I said, first off, their minds aren't right. They're not thinking properly, and they're, like I said, they have no self esteem. There's no taking their self esteem, so they are content and comfortable where they're at because they have no desires to be any better. But you give them an opportunity to get their self esteem back,
Mhm.
because that's the key. I keep telling everyone that self esteem is the key to success and failure. They put these people in detox, they go through detox. We paid them for them to go through their little treatment, 30-day treatment program. They're now clean, they've had counseling for 30 days. Now they leave the treatment program, and now what?
Mhm.
They're right back to where they were. They're with the same people they were before, and now they're using all over again because they
Mhm.
didn't give them any self-esteem. If they'd helped them get their self-esteem before they left, which requires you can't give a person self-esteem, they have to earn it. Comes with
Mhm.
earning a paycheck. If you give them the sense of self-esteem back, they'll go out there. They're not going to want to live in the tunnel. They're going to go on and go live in a house, and they're going to work to get to that point because
Mhm.
they're going to grow. But you got to
Mhm.
get them over the hump.
Yeah, because now they have more to lose, and once they start earning something, they have a purpose to keep going.
But yeah, that's the biggest thing with the homeless out there. They don't have any self-esteem.
Mhm.
They have no problem laying in a sidewalk with everybody looking at them. So
Mhm.
you and I, we couldn't go do that. We would not feel comfortable
Mhm.
about going out there and laying alongside the sidewalk where people have to walk around us. We
Mhm.
would not be all right with going over and pooping in front of a store in front of everybody. I watched a woman the other day
Mhm.
walk right along Wetmore in front of Walmart. Busy traffic.
Mhm.
She goes in behind the bushes and she sits down to pee or poop or whatever she was doing, but she
Yeah.
squat right along the main road. And I'm just, they don't have any self-esteem.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's the proof right there that they can do all these things. You and I
Mhm.
couldn't do that. We would not feel
Mhm.
comfortable doing that because we have some self-esteem.
Right. Yeah.
Give them back their self-esteem, and they won't be able to do it either.
Hmm. Yeah. And eh, we could probably have certain proposals to get them off the streets because uh, it's like we have this issue and we're just letting them have that loss of hope and like nothing could really change for the better, but certain things could like certain proposals could be placed to make those situations better. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah. Well, for starters, I actually have a whole plan laid out,
Hmm.
and to the Pima County Board of Supervisors. Tucson gets $70 million a year for the homeless. 70 million a year. That's 32,000 per person.
Yeah.
Most of that money goes to the NGOs and the overhead and the programs. I mean, that doesn't really go to the homeless that much. Then we have all the treatment facilities and all these federal programs that are happening with the intakes and outtakes. What we need to do, I have a plan. I've written it out. I've given the Board of Supervisors. I actually have a very thorough written out plan. I have an outline, and then I have the plan written out. It starts with, you're going to hear me say it again because this is the biggest problem with our society, enforcing the law. Okay,
Hmm.
we've got people at city bus stops. You can drive through Tucson. They're all out there with their foils, their straws, and they're smoking the fentanyl.
Hmm.
That is a class 4 felony.
Hmm.
Sorry there.
You're good.
Yeah, someone was calling. That's a class 4 felony.
Hmm.
Okay, which if you pick them up on the class 4 felony, then you give them a choice. You can sit here, go to trial, and eventually go to prison, or you can go to this program. It's detox, and then it's a program that will help you get a job, help you earn a paycheck, help you get your life back. You'll be able to save some money so that when you leave the program, you're ready to continue your life and grow.
Hmm.
That's what I have laid out in the plan. I actually have it where we can buy an apartment complex because you can pick up a big apartment complex for probably $4 or $5 million
Hmm.
and sell these people, upgrade it, sell them as they come out an apartment for $10,000 that they will own. And as long as they take care of it, keep it clean, when they're ready to go buy a house, they can sell the apartment back to the county or the state
Hmm.
and use that money as a down payment to buy their house. So I have a very thorough written out program to help people go from the streets to becoming homeowners.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, where can people find out more about your campaign and about yourself?
You can go to my web page. It's butierezforcongress.org,
Mhm.
or I'm on Facebook, Butierez for Congress.
I really enjoyed our conversation, and I wish you the best of luck with your campaign.
All right, you do. So I'm going to get to my next event.
All right. Well, you have a good one.
All right, Eric.
All right.
Bye.